Internal reps is about the part of sports people don't always see. The pressure behind the performance, the setbacks, the confidence struggles, the identity, the sacrifices, and the work that it takes to keep going when things just aren't going your way. These are real conversations with athletes about what they've gone through, what they've learned, and who they've had to become along the way. Everybody sees the highlights. Internal reps is about everything underneath them. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Internal Reps. Today I'm joined by Sam Vries. Sam grew up in Irvine, California, became a four-star tennis recruit, started his college career at Portland State, transferred to UC Davis, became a captain and singles and doubles starter for the Aggies. After graduating in 2025, made the jump almost immediately from college athlete to college coach. He's now a graduate assistant with Alabama's men's tennis while working towards his master's in sports management. Sam, I really appreciate you coming on, my man. I've been looking forward to this one for some time now.
Appreciate you having me on. I know we've both got busy schedules, and here we are. I'm pumped for it.
That we do for sure. So like I said, I'm excited to jump into it. But we'll just start it off right here, dude. Of like, okay, so before we get actually into the Alabama side of coaching, I want to start with you as a player, right? So
I
you
was
were
close to five, but I wasn't a five-star. I was
didn't
close.
get all right.
I
Hey,
didn't
at least
get
you
there.
had some stars behind your name, dude. That's pretty sick. But you were a four-star recruit coming out of California, so tennis, had already become a pretty serious part of your life before college ever started. So kind of what was Sam like growing up, and when did tennis go from something you really enjoyed to something you realized like, damn, I could take this somewhere,
Yeah, no, good question. I definitely tell a lot of people this story, and I have a very unique kind of path to where I got to playing Division I tennis. But yeah, I've got a twin brother, and we both started playing when we were super young. Our older brother is 7.5 years older, and we kind of just grew up around the game. He got really into it when he was probably 10 or 11, and Luke and I were 4 years old, for example, and we always had a racket in our hand and just kind of like following our brother around at their tournaments and just kind of living with him in his shadow, and we always wanted to play, right? So I started playing tournaments probably around age 6, and was so into it. All I wanted to do was tennis and play tennis all day, and started playing tournaments from age basically 6 to 8.5. And Luke started playing a year later, age 7, I think, but he only played for about a year, and I was probably in it for 2.5. And then our parents were kind of, we saw it from our older brother. He was super academically driven and good tennis player. He was also 4-star as well, but he was so invested academically, and the tennis side kind of takes a bit of a mental toll when you're by yourself. And it's not an easy sport when you're just by yourself all the time. And he got maybe a little bit burned out. And since the age gap was so big, our parents were kind of like, you should go play some other sports and just really take a step away from tennis, and you can always come back to it. So I played basketball really competitively from 10 to 15. And then
Wow.
Luke ended up just sticking with baseball. And probably around 8th grade, I stopped playing on my club basketball team. And a lot of my club teammates actually ended up playing Division I. One of my teammates was playing at UCLA last year.
What?
Clemson played us in basketball at home last year. A guy that I had played with was a starting forward at Clemson, and my club team was very serious. But I probably started club basketball at 6th grade, and each year that I played, the club got bigger, right? So these guys that were at UCLA, Clemson, whatever, they ended up joining our club. So I was on the highest team in 6th grade, and then by 8th grade, I was on the B or the C team, right? So
Yep.
because it just and also
That's
I
how
was
it
the
goes.
smallest guy, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah, so then 14, 15, I remember being in the room with my mom and bawling my eyes out, like, I should quit basketball and play tennis. And I love basketball. I just love being in the team aspect. But it was like, hey, realistically, and at this time, our older brother was playing Division I tennis, and he started loving tennis again once he got in that team atmosphere. And yeah, my mom was just like, we should put our tennis racket in your hand again and see what happens, right? And I was like, let's do it. But I didn't want to quit basketball. So the plan was like, all right, let's start playing tennis again. You'll play freshman on the freshman basketball team if you make the team. But I was like, I'm going to make the team for sure.
Love it.
There's no way I'm not making the team.
Of course.
And yeah, so started playing tournaments again, but I never had a coach or anything like that. It was my mom wanted me to play, but she wasn't pressuring me to play, right? They probably learned a lot from Jake, right? The age gap is so different.
Yeah.
There was no pressure really. It was just
I'm wondering that, bro. I know how good you were. And to say you didn't have a coach growing up, but obviously to have Jake in your life and to be as good as he was, I'm sure that helped. But that's pretty impressive. I didn't know that. I totally thought you guys had someone you were going to, right?
yeah.
That's
I
wild.
had a lesson. I had a lesson for 30 minutes with a coach. 30 minutes is nothing, right? So I was just
Yep.
finding people to hit with and just practice with in my community, because Irvine is I mean, it's one of the most profound tennis cities in all of the United States, really. There are guys on the professional tour. So Southern California in general is probably the most prominent, along with being in Florida. But Southern California is really up there. So when I started playing again, I was fortunate. I always had people to practice with.
Mm-hmm.
But, by the time, so I played freshman year basketball, and
Yep. Yep.
in the middle of the season, I quit. I was starting point guard on the team, and I was trying to balance going to basketball practice and then also trying to play tennis at the same time. And I was just like, all right, I'm just not going to play college basketball. Like, there's just no chance of this happening. So I end up kind of quitting the basketball team and just going for, just going for it for tennis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so that was fresh. That was November of freshman year, if I remember, October, November of freshman year of high school. And at the time on my high school team, we were always one of the top 5 teams in the state. And high school tennis is not a whole big thing. Most tennis players are homeschooled. Internationally, they're homeschooled and they've been traveling on their own. But I was already like, the plan was to go to public high school, and I wasn't a very good tennis player at the time, right? So, but my high school tennis team had some cool people to look up to. One of them who played at University of Portland, he was a 5-star for sure. And then another one who's, I think he's 270 in the world right now, ATP ranking. He went to my high school as well. And he was at USC, and then he won a natty at Wake Forest as well. So it was just my being in this environment, someone who just started kind of playing tennis again, but I was surrounded by these guys. I want to be Leo and I want to be Stefan, right? But I just started playing tennis again. So it was picking up a tennis racket at 15 is not really something that people just do.
No, not at all.
If I told you I was playing since I was 4 and here I am today, right? Granted, I probably wouldn't even be in the shoes that I am today if I continued playing tennis from age 4 on. Maybe I'm a professional tennis player, or maybe I've literally been over this sport for 10 years now, and I can't
completely
even
burnt
pick up
out.
a racket, right?
Yeah.
So I was super fortunate when I started playing again. It was just like, all right, let's go. I want to play. And I was playing maybe a tournament once every other weekend or whatever, and just trying to get some development. But I didn't have a coach, so it was just I have no guidance, but I'm just kind of figuring it out on my own. I'm just competing, really. I don't really know anything about my game other than my game is not good. My technique is horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
self-taught.
you're a competitor. Yeah.
And
yeah.
all I know how to do from playing basketball and whatever is just competing and hustling, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. And then I do okay my sophomore year. I know I was a 3-star my sophomore year, and I was pretty pumped on it. I was like, okay, now I'm a 3-star. I can play college tennis to some aspect, right?
Yeah.
Low D1, you got to be kind of a 3-star. If you're playing the really good, D3 program, you're 3 even to 5-star blue chip.
Yeah, I was wondering how the star thing does work too, especially in tennis, and how that whole circuit kind of gets going when you're getting recruited.
So it's kind of, if you're 200, if I remember correctly, if you're 200 or if you're 300 to 500 in the nation, you're a 3-star. If you're 1 to 25, you're a blue chip. Okay, so those are like the best players in the country.
Yep.
Then you go 25 to 75 is 5-star, and then 75 to 199 is a 4-star. And I was normally always in that 90 to, I kind of peaked in that 90 to 100, 110 range. So I was pretty close, but I wasn't a 5-star. And then so on, right? So yeah, that kind of sophomore year, I was a 3-star, and I was like, all right, I still have no coaching. I'm just playing. I'm just going to these tournaments and just playing. And then junior year, I started doing pretty good. I remember the last tournament before COVID, I made the quarterfinals of this level 3 national, or maybe level 2 or level 3. And I had a couple good wins in there. And then COVID hit. So I was like, oh, now what? I just started playing tennis a year and a half ago. And now I'm like, what do I do? I'm just stuck, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately at the time, my older brother was coaching at USC, and he was kind of living at home when he was coaching at USC, commuting a little bit.
Yeah.
And then everything was shut down. So he just stayed home with us in Irvine.
And you guys just started grinding?
Yeah, we just started grinding. I've never had any other job in my life. I was never a server, never, working at an acai bowl place, nothing. It's always been coaching tennis. And when I was 15, I started coaching. And then I was coaching some younger girls, and I was just doing hitting lessons, basically, like, $20 an hour or something. And I was still playing. And then I was just kind of developing, all right, communication skills, one, but I was, even though I wasn't very good, I was still better than them, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a way, right? So that's why they were paying me.
Yep.
But a couple of these girls that I was doing these hitting lessons with, they had a connection to some people's tennis courts in their backyard 20 minutes away from our house. And my brother and I were there. It was almost every single day, hours and hours, redoing my entire technique, I was doing hitting lessons with these girls, and then we would just stay after for hours and like, basically just redo my entire technique because I've never had a coach, right? So I just turned 17 when COVID hit. So I was 17 the first time having a legitimate coach. And also in the tennis world, it works out for some people, but sometimes it doesn't work out when your dad is coaching you, or just kind of in any sport, right? Like,
For sure. For sure.
a
Yeah.
lot of the time it's like, oh, my
That's
dad can
easy
help me
burnout.
until I get to like age 12 or 13, right? And then, your dad kind of sends you off to your club coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Fades away a little. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, my brother and I, like, we would definitely go at it and butt heads, but I was
Yeah.
just like, I wanted it really bad. Like, especially he had played Division 1 tennis. He started coaching again. His plan wasn't to coach, and then he kind of got into it when he was in grad school. And then with him being at USC, I went to a couple of the matches, and I was just like, this is sick. Especially him being at USC, that was obviously really cool, right? So yeah, so kind of age 7 when COVID hit, we were just every day working on my technique and getting better. And we went from February was my last tournament before COVID. I didn't play a tournament from February until September. So September, October. So that was now senior year of high school. And I just kind of hit that four-star ranking when tournaments started to come back.
Yeah. What got you over the hump? What's the 3 to 4 star right there? Just more wins?
Honestly, I just wanted to win so bad. My college coach, he always, when I got there, he was like, how do you win? I just run around and just make balls and just make guys suffer because when I got to college, I had no weapons, right? So it's if you're, Tyler, you're going up to the plate, right? Like, what is your goal? Like, you're probably going to try to hit the ball pretty hard and try to get on base. That's
Yeah.
most people's goal. Whether
Yep.
they're a power hitter or my brother Luke is just pretty scrappy. It's similar to tennis in a way where like, you kind of have a game style, and I'm not the biggest physique guy, so I'm just hustling around competing.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about that, dude, because I think I made a lot of my career on that as well. I was so undersized and undervalued growing up, and I love that now looking back because I think that chip helped me so much. But there was something to be said about I knew every time I was going in there, I was just going to compete, and that's all it came down to. And I wish at times more people had that mindset because there's so many overthinkers now today, and I was definitely one of them. So I feel like I really can say that. But it's funny getting to coach professional baseball players now and high level D1 guys and guys that are just doing it at the pinnacle, right? It's cool to pick their brains, but when I talk to some of these guys, sometimes these approaches are crazy and it makes sense. I think you have to go in there with an approach and have a plan and this and that. And you should always approach competition like that, right? Like, but at the same time, I felt when I was at my best, I was getting into the box, you said, and it was just full blown, like, let's compete. And there's something to be said of I was anticipating, I had a plan in the back of my mind, but I was never a guy who was going to go in there and and I wonder if this translates or how this kind of correlates a little bit of this has to be perfect for me to do this. Like, no, that wasn't my game, dude. I got in the box and it was, okay, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to get on time and I'm going to hammer something. That's what it is. You throw it over the plate and we're going, bro. And I know that I'm never going to give a single at bat away. Just I feel you don't ever give a point away or give up on any form. At one point at a time. I'm trying to see what the correlation would be there, but yeah, I think there's something to be said just about going back to competition and just having that. Yeah, dude, I was undersized and undervalued growing up, and I ended up having a great college career because I decided to go work my ass off, and every time I got in there, I competed and never gave a pitch away. So I love that mindset, and I'm learning more as I go through this journey about that. And the more I reflect about it, it just makes me wonder.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean to connect that too. Now that I'm not playing right now,
Mhm.
all I want to do is compete. That's all I think about. And when my guys are playing, and maybe if they're not competing at their best, obviously I can't get on the court. I wish I could get on the court sometimes and just compete, but that's not the role that I'm in now, right? I'm there to try to motivate them to compete, but at the end of the day, I'm not the one with the racket anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to jump into the next thing about Portland State because I'm so excited to pick your brain about
Yeah.
that. But I
Yeah.
also want to stay on the playing side for a second of, okay, so we started at Portland State, just transitioning, going through, obviously tennis is, what you love and what you end up pursuing.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the college portion, though, any tips in terms of recruiting that you could go back and say, well, my mind was here when I was going through the recruiting process? Because tennis seems different, man,
Yeah.
especially recruiting wise.
That's a really good question. Yeah, and to kind of wrap up my junior career basically and get
Yeah,
into the college,
yeah,
I started playing a lot of tournaments my senior year, and it was full go. Once tournaments were started to play, it's like almost every weekend I was playing. And granted, I had a coach too. My brother was there, so I was like, finally, I have a coach. Like,
Yeah.
I went my whole life without a coach, right? So I'm basically sending emails to coaches and all this kind of stuff. I'm a 4-star recruit, and if you're a 4-star, I was probably at this time 150 in my class. I'm playing. If I could play at a low mid major, that would be awesome for me. If someone will take an chance on me, and I started to get some of these low mid major coaches emailing me, and I was like, sweet. October of because COVID was going on, there was a dead period too.
Yep. Yep.
And that dead period was super rough for me because I had some offers in the Midwest to go play, and I was like I don't know, like what do I do, right? I remember my brother and I, like, we drove from Irvine to Pocatello, Idaho State University.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to meet with the coach. I wasn't able to meet with anybody. We just drove there on our own dime, 15 hours, and it was just like, oh, here we are. I didn't even think that I was going to play Division I tennis in the first place, right? That was the goal.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
with COVID and my upbringing, it was just like, cool, we're here.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I didn't have that. I never got that visit. Like, you're hosting a recruit on a visit. I didn't get that. We just went on our own dime and stayed for 2 days and saw the town, and
That's
then drove
crazy.
back to Irvine.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did when I committed to St. Mary's. We flew down on our own dime. I'm not going to say or name names because I'm pretty sure we weren't supposed to do this, but he was my assistant coach at the time. Was just like, yeah, I'll meet you at this coffee shop and we'll talk. And the whole family met him. We were all just masked up and
Mm-hmm.
sat there and talked for
As
a
low
little
key
bit.
as possible.
As
As low
low
key.
key as possible, yes. And then we went and just drove around the campus for a little bit. Ended up loving it, and same thing
St.
though.
Mary's Tech.
Yeah, great spot for sure. My actually though, what did you think about Pocatello? My sister's boyfriend played there for 2 years.
No way.
Yeah, I played
But I
basketball.
remember your parents telling me that.
Yep.
It was very different. What really drew me was the coach that was there. He was similar to me. He wasn't a very good recruit in a way when he was in, high school, whatever.
Yep.
He
Yep.
played in college, and I could just tell this guy was so into it, so passionate, and he was on me like, come here, we're building something. And that year, because the season before was cut short, right? So that year that I visited, I think they made the conference final or the conference semifinal, and that was just like, oh, he's building something here for sure. And it was just the head coach there he's done a really good job, and he's moved on to a really good job now coaching too. But that was the reason that I was ready to, like, all right, let's go to Idaho State, because this coach he was really good at what he was doing. I didn't know how much tennis he knew. I know he definitely knows a lot of tennis, but his communication with me was very good, and was like, we're building something strong here, and we want you to be a part of it.
Yeah,
And I
which is
was
all
like,
you're looking for.
that's all I could ask for, right?
Yep. Yeah,
So
absolutely. But then we land at Portland State though. What? How does
yeah.
that go, dude?
So senior year of high school moves along, and I'm uncommitted. I really, really wanted to go to UC Davis. Was just Eric Stadelmeyer, please, I'm gonna walk on, give me a spot, right?
Was
He
that
ends
kind
up
of a dream spot?
it was it, what I always felt was that, even as a coach now, someone should go where they can play, right? Not your playing time is guaranteed, but in the tennis world, it's pretty easy to measure where you are in a way. And if 6 people play, and there's this metric system, universal tennis ranking, if you're kind of in that incoming freshman and you're on that 5 to 8 range, really good, right?
Yep.
All right, you're gonna get in there, you're gonna have an opportunity to play, right? And then if you're like, coming in, and a guy is the line 6 of your team is a 12 UTR, for example, right? And you're a 10-5, you have a lot of work to get done to be able to play, right? And I just felt that UC Davis, when I was in high school, was, one, in California, sweet, two, really good education. And I wasn't the most academically driven guy. I was just kind of get by, right? I did all right, and then three was just, the level was perfect. If I really worked, I could get in this lineup, and it ended up not working out. It ended up not working out the first time around because of
That's what I
COVID,
was
and they
gonna
had a
say,
roster
yeah.
spot and a roster cap of 10 guys. And I ended up going to this tournament. I finish high school, don't go to prom, go to tennis tournaments, don't do any of this senior fun stuff. I just was playing tennis. I didn't do any of that stuff my senior year of high school. And I flew to Florida to play this national tournament, hoping. I was uncommitted July of my after senior year. So school starts in 6 weeks, and I was uncommitted. I had an offer from Portland State that I was just kind of hanging on to, and it was a really generous, really good offer. It, helped me out a lot, right? And the opportunity to play Division I tennis was there, but I really wanted to go to UC Davis, right? So I went to this tournament. hoping to get seen, and I don't get seen by someone who just wants to take a chance on me. That was kind of the hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I commit to Portland State. I go there, and it was I was really happy to have this opportunity to play Division I tennis. I was like, all right, I'm so pumped for this. Like, and it just ultimately was not set out what I thought it was going to be.
I have so much
I,
on this. Yeah.
we had, I had a freshman roommate. Also, my entire team was international, except everyone's from around the world, right? I had a teammate from Taiwan, Germany, Australia, Finland, Britain, two guys from Britain. And that was something I never seen in my life. I knew tennis was very international, right? I knew that these guys were international on my team, right? But I'm in California. I've been surrounded by Cali guys my whole life, right?
Yep.
And here I am. Oh wow, what I just kind of get myself into, right? But my teammates, these older guys on the team, really brought me in. These two guys from one from Germany, one from Taiwan. These guys brought me in from the first day. I became very close with them. But at Portland State was super difficult because I really wanted to train and get better, right? And I really wanted coaching and development. And that's what at Idaho State, this coach was like, I want to develop you. There's individual training. We have 4 courts on campus and all this stuff. And I was like, that's what I really wanted to hear, right? And I passed that up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to Portland State, the closest tennis facility which we trained at was an indoor place 15 minutes away. And when you train at, in the college tennis world, like, the university is renting the courts from, said place, right? So our practice time is from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you get on the court at exactly 10 a.m. because the members are on the court before. And as soon as it's 11:59, the members are already walking on.
That's wild. Yeah.
This was Division I tennis, and this is no knock on Portland State at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
And it's just, other teams have to do this as well, right? But that was really difficult for me to get into my freshman year of college and be like, I really am trying to develop and train as much as possible. And then I got there and it was like, I'm really only practicing an hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get on the court and you warm up and do all this stuff and everything, and I just played for 90 minutes. My buddies
That's crazy.
My buddies at UC Davis, they have 16 courts to use, and they're there playing 4 hours a day. They could play 6 hours a day if they wanted, right? I guess I kind of backtracked, but when the season started to go along, when I was at Portland State, I entered the transfer portal the day the portal opened, which now is different. So back then, you could enter the portal in January, and our season starts January 15th, okay? So I was already in the transfer portal as the competitive season was going on. So
Wow.
now the portal opens kind of, it basically, in a way, it's still open when the season is over, but it opens when the NCAA tournament goes on. So
Wait, so you got in the portal though before you played that season?
Yeah, so tennis season, there's 2 seasons, an individual season in the fall, which is I represent, Portland State, and you represent Washington, and our coach brings us to a tournament and we play each other in a tournament format, really.
Gotcha.
The spring season is team versus team. I'm at Alabama and you're at Washington. Our teams are going to play against each other at Alabama, at Washington, or at a neutral site somewhere, right?
So you weren't in the portal when you were doing the individual stuff though, correct?
Correct. It wasn't open at that time. But then after having some things kind of
didn't go
as planned. Some things didn't go as planned with my team, right? So one of the guys on our team ended up not coming back from another freshman. He didn't come back. Another freshman left the team on his own, kind of kicked off, whatever the case may be, right? So then you need 6 players to form a team. And my freshman year of college, we had 5 guys. So we forfeited matches on court 6.
Why?
And we forfeited 3 doubles. So in a way, we're almost down. Tennis, first to 4 points wins, right? The doubles point is worth 1 point. And then singles totals 6 points. So then now it's 7. So first team to 4 points, first wins. So we forfeited court 6, and then we forfeited 3 doubles. So we need to win court 1 and 2 doubles to win 1 doubles point. So we're automatically down 1-0. And then, so in my mind, I'm going to play a match in college, right? And we already are down 1-0. So that's you going into a baseball game, and they're already up 5-0, and the game hasn't even started.
Yeah, that I can only imagine what that would do to your mindset going into a sport that even is so much more individual, of like, there's so much more I have to do now. That's wild.
So the guys that were on that team, we ended up getting a guy on the club team, which made us 6. So we had a full roster after a couple matches. My first college match, we played Boise State with 4 players. And so we were down 2-0. We actually almost won the doubles point that day. My first college match, I won doubles and we lost singles on a tiebreak. So we were down, in a way, we were down 3-0. We had to win all 4 singles matches to win. We ended up losing. but that was an experience. My first ever match was with 4 players.
I'm curious, how did you play when you got in the portal knowing, okay, I'm in the portal and now I want to go to a better school? Because I have a story I want to share, but I want to hear your perspective on what that did for you. Because obviously you seem to see success almost all the way through your career, which is testament to you and your work ethic and what you were able to accomplish. But what was that mentality like? Because I think I had something that maybe more people can relate to at times of I got in the portal that 5th year at Redlands, knowing that I had 1 year, one more with a medical red shirt. So what was that when you did that?
Well, I mean, one, it was for sure stressful because I went into every match knowing that this coach knows that I'm in the transfer portal. And I'll get into a really pretty crazy story how this all kind of comes full circle. But when I was in the portal, one of the first people to hit me up was the Davis coach. And I was like, Eric, thank you.
Yep.
Like, please. I was already going to email him. And then I
Yeah.
remember we were at practice one day, finished practice. I see an email from him. And I was like, let's go. Like, all right, this is going to work the second time around. Right. And coincidentally, that season we were going to play Davis at their place in a non-conference match, and then we play Sac State in our conference match the other day. So I communicated with the Davis coach for about 2 months leading up to us playing them. So me playing them was my tryout. So
Yeah.
my heart is beating out of my chest that day. And the Davis coaches, I played court 4 that day, and I actually played a guy that he literally kicked my ass all of juniors. My entire junior career, my senior year of high school, he beat me 3 times, pretty bad.
No way.
He was going to Davis, that guy, right? And I already knew
Yeah.
that when we were playing. And
Yeah.
he just had my number. To be honest, he just had my number. And remember the Davis coach kind of standing there, arms crossed, the whole match on my court, and I'm looking at him.
Yep. Yep.
He's there, right?
Yeah. Can't
And then
not look.
come to find out when I end up at Davis, a former player was in the stands watching my every move. Coach sent him out there like, oh, I'm recruiting this guy. You should just go stand behind the court and watch him the entire match and let me know what you think, right? And I end up losing. I lost in 3 sets to that guy. Won the first set, lost the second, and then lost a really close third set.
Okay.
One, also I was playing line 4, right? So I was in the middle of the lineup, so I'm at a pretty good spot, right? If I'm competing with the line 4 at Davis, who has a pretty good record that year, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, now is
Your
my
freshman
opportunity,
year.
right?
Yeah, your freshman year
Yeah.
too.
And so I end up playing and I barely lose. And the guys on the Davis team knew that I was talking to the coach, and they came up to me basically like we would love to have you here. We're pushing for you. Like, I really hope this works out.
Yeah.
And I was just a couple weeks before I had talked to the captain at Davis. Coach put me on the phone with him. We spoke for an hour and a half. And I was just like he even knew. He came up, gave me a big hug after the match, and was just like, he really wanted me there. It seemed like everyone wanted me there.
Yeah.
It was just, if they had the roster spot open, then coach would be like, all right, come on.
Yep. Of course.
So that was probably the most stressful time because I was just waiting for the opportunity to play at Davis since we spoke. And then I kind of got that opportunity, thankfully, right? I got super lucky we played them. I definitely capitalized on it by just competing my ass off. No poor body language, just telling yourself, I'm going to be in every single point, win or lose. You got to erase everything after each point and just keep resetting. Because especially now that I'm coaching, it's so easy to identify when a player has a rough mentality, right? They're fighting something inside. And I knew what I could do. I can control what I can control on the court, and I can control my body language. If the coach just sees me competing and not being like, being an ass on the court, it's pretty easy to just be like, this guy is somebody I would want on my team, right? So that was something that I was going into the day. Just do that. Doesn't matter the score or anything. Just compete as hard as you possibly can and have a really, really good attitude. No BS, no complaining, nothing. And fortunately, I was able to do that. And I didn't win the match, but I was very close, right?
So crazy what that mindset shift is too, of just like, because I've done that before where I've performed in front of scouts. I've had that mindset too of I'm just gonna go out and compete and almost overemphasize that I'm gonna have good body language today. And you said just not complain, dude. Versus the other side of it where it's like now I'm looking at the coach, I want to be perfect and thinking about what you're doing and letting those thoughts kind of consume you a little bit and then pouting, whatever, bad body language, whatever it may be. But having the mindset, I think that's a pretty cool point that you just made of you had a lot of pressure, dude. You wanted to go to Davis. You knew they were going to be there. You were playing them your freshman year. I mean, that's nuts. And you go out and you know that this is your opportunity. I think a lot of people would really make that moment bigger than it was. And the fact that you were able to come back down and just say, I'm just going to go compete. That's all. I'm going to go compete as hard as I can, have good body language, just go about the game the right way. I think that in a sense, the more I'm thinking about it right now, it freed you up almost. I don't know, am I right there? Of just I'm just gonna go give it everything I have, and at least I can look back and say that I did, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be as free as possible. I mean, I obviously there's nerve. Just anybody going into a game, there are nerves, right? Nerves, especially because I knew the guy that I was playing had kicked my ass every single time the year before. Just six
Seriously.
months before, he beat me. I remember we played in San Diego. He in the or semifinals of some big tournament. He beat me 6-0, 6-1. At that point, when I lost him that time, the Davis coach probably shouldn't take a chance on me after losing that bad, right? And then now walking out of the facility that day, I was just like, I just did the best I could, right? Like, I showed him how I can compete, how I hold myself on the court, and whatever happens is now out of my control. I showed what I
Yeah.
can show.
Yeah, so
So
true.
yeah, so I go along with the season there. We don't have a good season, that was for sure. But come May of that year, then gave me a spot on the team. I took it, and then
A
yeah,
little
then
bit of
I
a no-brainer there.
it was no brainer, and things work out right how they're
Yes.
supposed to.
Yes, for sure. I want to share this side of the story that I haven't yet. And it's funny for the people who don't know, Luke, your brother's one of my best buds to this day. And I'm curious if he could have seen this season. I haven't been able to talk to some of the Redlands boys about it, but the whole reason I went, and to share my side of that story now, the whole reason I went to Redlands was first part of my career, I really was not enjoying college. I wasn't enjoying baseball. I was burning out. It had got to the point to me where I was coming home telling my parents, like, I'm done with the game, man. Like, I don't want to see the game until I have kids one day, and then we'll do the deal. But like, I'm ready to go into business. I'm ready to go into corporate and just step away for a little bit. So it got pretty rough there in terms of my mindset on burnout. And then went to Redlands. Absolutely loved it. I actually remember Luke. I'll never forget this story too. I remember Luke first week of being there. Like, all right, and I was committed to a D1 actually. I was committed to South Dakota State before decommitting and then committing to Redlands because my parents were like, dude, we just want you to have fun. Like, please go enjoy the rest of your career and don't give it up yet. So I commit to Redlands. I go out there.
Shout out to the parents.
Yeah, big one actually. Shout out mom, dude. That was a story I haven't shared was I was committed to South Dakota State that year or that summer. I was coming off injury at Incarnate Word, didn't play, came back, wasn't playing, got in the portal, went out, played that summer, but that's really when I was hating the game. Just one of those things where I was giving it everything I had. I made it to Division 1. I knew I belonged, but I wasn't seeing the results, and so I was just I don't know, bro. It was tough, very mentally challenging. A lot of people go through it. It's part of the reason I started this podcast. And so I go out that summer, I get in the portal again. Now all those thoughts are racing. I'm in the portal for the fourth time. Here we go again, starting over. And sure enough, I'm having a terrible summer. Worst summer ball I had ever had, just in terms of playing and freaking out, trying to figure stuff out. My whole identity was baseball. And I get a hefty offer from South Dakota State, Coach Berliner, great dude, super cool. And I pretty much, I mean, told my family, like, yeah, I'm committing. I'd kind of hinted at it to him. So it was kind of a done deal. Was really pumped about it. And I'm still playing awful, playing terribly, coming home at night by myself, honestly crying, just can't figure it out, don't know what's going on. Whole identity's baseball. Mom calls me up and she's like, look, it's time for you to drop your ego. It's time for you to go somewhere where you enjoy it and just have fun with the game, dude. This is the game that you've always loved. Go have fun. And so I said, okay. And that's what I did. And so I called him up. And honestly, at the time, I told him I was thinking about just hanging him up. And he was super cool about it. He was like, I get it, happens, good luck to you. So shout out him for that. And then commit to Redlands because I had a few buddies there, Kaya, Will, Nathan Buchan, those guys.
Shout out the PNW.
The PNW boys, man. Yeah. Bringing me to Redlands. So they said, come out. We'd love to have you. It'd be fun. And so I got on the phone with Holly and the great staff over there. And just it was the first time I played for some people where it was like, damn, man, these people really care about me. Like, this is cool. It just isn't just all baseball, even though I still loved it. And so I ended up getting there and I told my parents, I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to finish my undergrad out here and we're going to give baseball a shot. But if not, I'm in Southern California. I'm next to you guys in Palm Springs. It's great. I can play my golf. I can have my fun. We're good. I'll enjoy the last part of my undergrad. End up loving it. Story on Luke, little side story, was that first week we were there, we were in the cafeteria. I came in and I knew also that I had a little bit of pressure on me of like, damn, I hope these guys don't see me. I mean, you know me well enough. Like, I would never want the guys to see me of this guy's a D1 bounce back. Like, he must think this and that. And I felt that for sure early on of like, damn, I got to perform. this and that. And Luke had told me in the cafeteria, it was 2 weeks in, he goes, "Hey man," he said, "I just want to let you know, like, we're all super happy to have you here. I'm really excited to go through
Yeah.
the season with you." And I said, "Bro, you don't know how much that means." And still to this day, I look back at that one comment and what that did for my mindset, sitting down of just like, "Oh, damn, these guys are already welcoming me in." It wasn't necessarily the D1 atmosphere of just so cutthroat, dude. Of like, and I have all my best buds from all the D1s I played at, but it really did feel more of a family atmosphere. There's no athletic scholarship. It's a group of guys that just all wants to be there. They're all playing the game because they love it. And I was like, dude, this is sick. So I fell in love with it again, and I had a great season that year. A lot of fun with that team, a lot of good memories. Point I'm trying to make, been trying to get here now for a little bit. I've been rambling, but that 5th year. So I roll into my 5th year. I have a medical red shirt and a normal red shirt. So I know at this point, I want to get my master's. I want to get it paid for. So, I'm going to try to take that 6th year eventually. So now I got to go play good so I can go back to a Division 1 my last year, get my master's paid for. So I go into that 5th year, same thing, dude. I tell Holly, he's so cool about it. I said, "Hey man, I'm getting in the portal." I said, "I'm gonna play this season in the portal." And he said, "Yep, sweet." And I had actually did 75 hard with Luke that fall. Got so dialed in, best shape of my life. Everything was perfect. Had a great fall. Exit meeting, I
I
say, "Yeah,
totally
I'm getting."
forgot that y'all did that. I remember
Yeah,
now.
bro. It was
Yeah, for
nuts,
real.
which I have so much more on that too, in terms of it was great until it wasn't sometimes because then I got too, focused versus just enjoying it. But
Hmm.
so we did that, totally got locked in. Like I said, going to the exit meeting, okay, hey, I'm getting in the portal. Great. Super cool about it, super supportive. After having a great fall, I'm getting calls over break from big schools, dude. I had a great fall. I've put up numbers through most of my career. And so, yeah, I was talking to a few power fours, quite a few mid majors. I'm in the best shape of my life. I go home. We had finished 75 hard late in the fall. I go home. I'm like, yeah, I'm not drinking. I'm not touching anything. I'm staying in this mindset. I was obsessed, which was great to an extent. And then we come back that spring. Long story short, I have the worst offensive season of my life, changing a bunch of things around, trying to figure out what's going on, putting so much pressure on myself every game, which I feel bad to this day. I still at times feel I let that team down a little bit of not performing even close to how I should have, even though it was fine. I hit probably 290 with one homer. I it was a tough season for me, and
Yeah.
all those schools went away by the first few months, right? And
Hmm.
it sucked, bro. I was down bad again of like, okay, I have one more year. I love this game, but holy shit, dude, I just gave everything I possibly could have this entire year to this sport just to see what if and to look back and say, okay, I gave it everything. And I just went out and had the worst year. What happened? I didn't understand what had gone wrong. And so that's when I was like, all right, back into that headspace of maybe time to hang them up. I finished my undergrad, great, whatever. We'll go out and start working. And I had a contract to the Northwoods. And for all the non baseball people out there, it's one of the top two, I give it top two best leagues in the country for summer baseball, Northwoods and the Cape Cod. And I was a D3 guy going out there. I had my contract. I was going out for a full summer. And then sure enough, I'm sitting there like, okay, I didn't just perform in my Division 3 conference. And now I'm going to go play with SEC guys. And I think I'm going to perform. Like, what is, all those natural thoughts started to arise a little bit. And at that point, I was like, well, I have no offers. I just had the worst career or whatever season of my life. What am I going to do? And I said, you know what? This is probably it. I'm just going to go out there and just have fun. Like, I'm just going to play every day knowing that it's probably my last and this is going to be the last time I ever play summer baseball. And let's just try to go enjoy it. Right. And so I went out there. My parents didn't even think I was going to. They thought I was just going to bang my contract and just say screw it and start life. And so that caught him by surprise. I ended up going out to Wisconsin, staying with a great host family, and I went out and played every day in front of a huge crowd where I usually would have been nervous. Even in the past, I always let the bigger crowds kind of fuel me a little bit. But at that point, I'm not a guy with a big name. I didn't go to a big school, so no one was really expecting anything. But I just had that mindset of I'm going to enjoy every day this summer, every day we're playing. And the Northwoods is a grind because it's 70 games in 65 days of summer. And so I
It's
was
no
just like,
joke.
no joke at all, dude. And so I had that mindset, and I'm a month and a half in, and I'm leading the entire league in average and on base as a Division 3 guy with no name. And I have
And there's
schools
scouts at every game, or a
scouts
couple of
at
each
every
game.
game,
Yeah,
huge, big time schools at every game, pro scouts. And obviously, they were still there for all my buddies who I played with. Like I was just
of
the older
course.
D3 guy, but I was trying to get my master's paid for still. So I was still playing for something a little bit. And at that point, I realized, okay, now I'm playing good. And I got a lot of big schools calling me. Like, what's the difference? And that's when I started going down that psychology route, or that mental reflection of like, what is going on right now, dude? And it was truly me going out there, competing, having fun, and just being in the moment of like, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna enjoy it, dude. It freed me up. And then yeah, dude, that's pretty much how it went. Long story short, in terms of schools, I had a few mid majors across the country. All the P4s, I kind of told myself I was selling out for P4s. And so I told a lot of schools early in the summer when I was playing really good that I wasn't gonna go there. And then the back half of the summer, they didn't have scholarships anymore. So then I got back into that little whatever cycle of like, all right, I'm probably done. I ended it on a great note. So much fun. Family got to watch me play in front of thousands of people. That was cool. Sweet. And then you never know what happens, dude. Like, and that's where Azusa came calling 2 weeks before school started. And I said, hey, man, we'd love to pay for your master's if you want to come play your last year for us. And so that's my story on that side of things, and the pressure and just those last 2 years right there. And I took that just to add on a little more. I took that mindset into Azusa this year of previously in my career, especially when I was at Incarnate, where it's you're on scholarship, you're playing Division I sports, you're playing at a high level. There's a lot on my mind. And I took that mindset into Azusa. I knew I was getting everything paid for. It was an unreal offer. Super grateful. But there's a lot of expectations there too of like, okay, if we're going to give this to you, bro, you got to come in here and do something. Naturally, I would have probably tensed up earlier in my career and thought about that a little more. But I took that same mindset from summer baseball into this year, and it was unreal, dude. I had so much fun every day just realizing that, this is my last season and whatever, and I'm just going to go out here and just be in the moment. And same thing, dude. I ended up hitting 380, 12 home runs, first team all conference, first team all region. It was a great year, bro. And I could not have been more grateful. But if I didn't have that mentality, if I didn't go through what I did that 5th year at Redlands, that summer, and then to go into Azusa, I never would have understood that. And that's truly my story right there on those last
It
2 years.
all kind of comes full circle.
It really does.
I mean, that's my Davis kind of second chance. Really got to. I took that second chance. I wasn't on scholarship when I took
Yeah.
that second opportunity. That
Really, too, Davis?
yeah, I wasn't on scholarship, and then the fall season rolls around, and I have the best possible fall. I went 12-4 in singles. I won this big tournament that was in the fall, and then they gave me a partial scholarship going in the. They had some money freed up, right? And
Yep,
then
yep.
he called me, and I remember being like so stoked, right? Also, to kind of backtrack, I transferred there, and I was kind of that in that 5 to 8 range that I was talking about. If I have a really good fall, maybe I'm playing 5. If I have a really bad fall, I'm probably line 8 going into the season. And I have the best possible fall. And then they put me on a little scholarship, and then the season rolls around. I'm playing the first match, I'm playing on court 5. So it's everything was just starting to fall into place, right? And 5 seniors, 2 sophomores, and then 2 freshmen. And it was a very experienced team, and we were expected to be pretty average, probably get fourth in the conference and do okay. And then we end up winning the regular season that year, and we proved everyone wrong. We beat Santa Barbara at home. They were 25 in the country. We beat them 4-3, and then we end up tying the regular season with another team, and we lose in the semifinals of the conference tournament to Irvine. But it was that season was everything. Coming from where I had the year before on that Portland State freshman year of forfeiting matches because we didn't have enough guys, right? To then winning the regular season when I was at Davis, and then proving to the staff and then my other teammates that like I'm seriously here, like I'm working my ass off every day, and I don't care that I wasn't on scholarship. Like I just wanted a place where I was like, they're like, you if you work hard, you'll contribute in our lineup.
Yeah.
And it may not happen right away, but your time will come. And my time basically happened that entire year. Our first time beating Cal Poly at home, I clinched the last match against Cal Poly. Our first legit non-conference match against University of the Pacific, which was kind of our non-conference rival. We beat them 4-3. I clinched the last match against them. It was just everyone was having an unbelievable time, and we were all pushing each other. Granted, we had 2 other freshmen who were really good too. And then we had some experience on the top of our lineup, and everything just kind of fell into place. And then that summer, I ended up playing some professional tournaments over the summer. And then junior year, we kind of have all those guys graduated, those 5 graduated. So now we got new faces again. And then that's when I was captain of the team. And we had an okay season. I kind of battled through some injuries that junior year. I had a stress fracture in my knee, and I was kind of playing on and off throughout the year. And then the summer, I took off a little bit. And then that senior year was just unbelievable. I played three doubles all year, and I played kind of in between three and five singles, and went, I don't know, 12 and three in doubles, and then had the 11 and five singles record at 3 to 5. And then my senior day, it was really full circle. I get goosebumps kind of telling people, but
That's awesome.
senior day we're playing Cal Poly, and I have my family there, and then all my friends, and it's Davis has this day celebration. It's called Picnic Day. It's just a celebration of the town, and a bunch of people there. I ended up clinching the last match against Cal Poly on my senior day. And then it was just like, it makes you really reflect on how, like, you barely started playing when you were 15, and you gave up playing basketball, and you didn't have a coach, and then you went to Portland State, and the coach takes a chance on you, and you have all your buddies watching you behind the court and your teammates supporting you, and you clinch the last match on senior day. And then the week before that, we played Santa Barbara. I ended up losing. We lost 4-3. I lost the clinch that day, last match on 6-4 in the third against Santa Barbara. And I was like, people were checking up on me, like, how are you doing? And I was just like, I'm fine. We play Cal Poly next week. We got to kick their ass. Like, a lot of people will really get down on these kind of moments in college tennis. The match is 3-all and you lose a really close match. That can kind of decide somebody's season in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can really take a toll mentally, or it just depends on how you respond to it, right? I'd
For
been
sure.
through so much shit, knowing that I've always just been happy to be at Davis. Amazing community, love my coaches, love my teammates. And in a way, this was my team. I literally recruited somebody to come to Davis who was a freshman on the team who I'd known my whole life.
That's
And I'm like, dude, you got to come to Davis. And this kid, I've known my whole life. Love him. Shout out to Perry. And I literally recruited this kid to come to Davis. And I was like, it was kind of my team to clinch
What'd
on
you
senior day. And
What did you, not to interrupt, but what did you understand? I'm curious about this. You become captain too, right there. You're literally recruiting guys too. Like, what did you understand about being kind of a good teammate and a leader as a senior that you just didn't understand necessarily as a freshman? Because I have a couple takes on that as well, but I'm curious what you got on.
yeah, it's actually, I mean, really good question. But when I was a freshman, I remember one practice at Portland State, I checked one of my teammates. I'm like, bro, are you really here for the right reasons? And that's not in my character.
Yeah,
I've never been someone who likes confrontation.
I'm with
I'm
you.
never really talking shit or
Full
anything like that either.
yeah,
And when I was at Portland State, tensions were definitely really high, right? I just wanted to compete. And I checked one of my teammates, like, you're not here for the right reasons. You got to figure your shit out, right? And then when I was at Davis, it was kind of everyone relied on me I was kind of just the centerpiece. I wasn't the best player on the team by any means. I was not. I was never the best player on that Davis team in my entire career. But I was fortunate enough to have a lot of friends and a really good community there where it was like, Sam, who's coming to the tennis match today? Who are you? Who's pulling up?
yeah, yep,
And
yep,
that was something that I tried to do when I was at Davis, was like, we're going to give lessons to fraternities and sororities and other sports, because tennis had no name before I went to Davis. My sophomore year, we won the regular season. We had 20 people watching the match. So
yeah. That's crazy.
I'll give these guys all the shit in the world, these seniors. Guys, what are we doing, bro?
Come
How
on,
is no
man.
one here watching? Like,
Yeah, seriously.
and as time went on, like, people started to support our matches and come out and watch and all these things. And if there was confrontation at practice, I was always the one who was just kind of laughing.
Yeah, yeah,
When I was at, I would, like, check my teammates. Let's go. Come on, are we practicing? Like, let's go for real. But I always reflect pretty big now that I'm coaching, that when I was at Davis, I tell my head coach at Davis this all the time. When I was at Davis, I was probably one of the worst players in practice every day. I was going through practice, and then I would literally give 3 hours of lessons after and not go to class. So everything all I was thinking about was, how am I going to coach college tennis? How am I going to be a
yep,
coach, right? I'm
yep.
giving lessons to people in the community, my coach's kids. I'm never going to class. I don't know how I was academic honor roll, but I
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
And I was just kind of doing everything, but I didn't practice well, because maybe it was because I was on court 8 hours a day, right?
yep.
And
That's
that's
something
something.
I wanted though.
Well, I knew that I was going to compete the hardest in the dual match when it came around, but in
Yeah.
practice, I was like, I would consider myself now, I would look back on and say I was totally half-assing practice,
Okay. Wow.
without a doubt. If I could go back, I would practice way harder, but I don't know if I would go back in time and not give these tennis lessons to these people after, like, because that was just what I was doing. Like, that was my way of being like, I want to coach, but I also am competing my ass off when it comes to the match. And I remember my coach, my sophomore year, he got so pissed at me because I was giving a lesson the day before a match, And I was like, dude, don't worry about it. I'll be fine. Like, but he
Yep.
knew that, like, in practice, I just wasn't what they knew me. The
To
difference
be.
between my, like, competitive dual match to just practice, I was a completely different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
You would
always
turn it
regret
on and
that
off a
piece of
little
it.
bit.
Yeah, I was kind of in practice. I was always going this, bro. I was just like, kind of cruising through practice in a way sometimes. And I always regret that. Now that,
As a coach now, though, do you see guys do that and then have to have conversations, or how do you go about that? Because I'm sure there's so many. We all know guys that do that. I mean, I probably fell into it at times.
yeah, yeah, I mean, those conversations happen for sure. And then at this level, it's like, how are you going to limit your bad days? So it's like, now I'm reflecting, I had so many bad days in practice. And rarely do my guys here have bad days because they know that, like, we have this kind of motto, like, are you all in? Like, are you all in? Are you going to be all in class? Are you going to be all in, in practice? Are you going to be all in the treatment room, fitness room, all day? It's an all day thing, right? It is drastically different, right? They have individual practice in the morning. They go to the dining hall, they go to class, they go to team practice, they go to fitness every day. Then they go to tutoring. Like, they're all in, right? And I'm, proud of the group that we have. We had a really strong group, a good connection, right? But we were very inexperienced. And this year, like, we have some new faces and then also a little bit more experience. And we will have some guys that will kind of check each other, like, are you all in? Like, are you giving everything you can in this practice or not? And if
Which I
it,
think you need a little bit of.
yeah, and I've had a conversation with a couple guys, and whether they haven't had a good practice or not,
Mm,
whether there's some things behind the court that, also as a GA, I literally know everything that's going on, right?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so close in age with these guys, and it makes things a little challenging sometimes, but it also is something you learn to appreciate. My next full-time gig is, I don't want to know what's going
yeah.
on the weekend and in your I want to know what's going on in your personal life for sure, but I don't need to know every single detail. Right now, I,
Yes.
maybe know a little more than I should.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're a coach and you're trying to become, a head coach one day, one of those deals.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's
No, I
where that mentality of me knowing a lot can also help them, because I can resonate with them. Like, I'll tell them I half-ass practice, and, like, I regret that every single day that I go to work now, because if I could have maximized my practice every single day, I could have been a better level of, what I reached, obviously, right? Like, what you put in is what you're going to get out, right? It may not happen right away, but it will, slowly things will start to click
builds.
if you're all in every single day.
Absolutely. That 1%, dude. I read a book, whatever it was, a couple years back. I want to say it was Atomic Habits, but it was big on the 1% of just
Mm-hmm.
stacking days. Of can you give everything to that day and see how many days you can do that in a row. And I did it. I got into it when me and Luke did actually 75 hard, and it was 75 days of just stacking literally wins on wins. And my confidence, everything in my life was on a different level of just, I can say that I'm giving everything I have. I have no reason to not be confident. And if someone judges me for it or is telling me otherwise, that's okay. I stopped caring about opinions as well, because I know what I'm doing. So I always thought that was a unique take on it as well, of just stacking wins or giving everything you have, but actually doing it, and then saying, becoming who you say you are, right? And I think there's something to be said about that, because I think a lot of people say they're all in, but it's like, yeah, you're all in, but you're doing this on the side, or you're doing that, or you're letting that habit come back into your life. And it's like, okay, well, you're not. That's okay. Just don't say you're all in if you're not, then we're just lying to ourselves and now questioning identity. And then we're just playing mind games. So I think that's a big one. But I do have one more question before we jump into the real coaching side of it for you, too. So tennis has rankings, the UTR, the lineup position, wins and losses constantly attached to the name, right? And did you ever let those numbers kind of become too connected with how confident you felt about yourself or not? Because baseball is such a numbers game, too. And so I'm curious, like, I feel like it'd be so easy to get worked up over those. And then how are you able to stay in that middle ground, stay even keeled? Because we play a game of numbers, dude. It's difficult when you can go check that after every score. You don't have to check it because because you're constantly checking. And I mean, we all know guys who knew their stats off the top of their head, and after every match, after every game, it was, well, this is here now and this is here now, you know?
No, I mean, that's a great question. And that's something that I struggled with massively. Basically, it's more of like, do I belong in a way, right? So I started playing tennis super late. I went to Portland State, I went to Davis, and I was always super nice guy and, buddy buddy with everybody. That's just kind of how I
Yeah,
was
no,
raised and how I grew
yep,
up, right?
same here.
But when I got on the court, it's a completely different person. But when I was in that senior year of high school, it was I'm looking at my ranking and I'm looking at this guy's ranking. And I'm like, he's been playing his whole life and I've been playing for 2 years. Like, how am I going to beat this guy? Right. And it didn't really, I would say, honestly, my entire junior career, I thought about this every UTR ranking, tennis recruiting, star rankings, all these things I think about every single day. And it didn't really until I got to Davis is when I really started like, sure, I'm checking my UTR every day, like damn near every day I'm checking it, right? But it wasn't until I got to Davis where I felt like I can compete with anybody. It didn't matter, nothing mattered anymore. It was now I'm at Davis and I'm proving to these coaches and my teammates every day that I'm here. I'm here to just compete, right? And I was playing tournaments in the summer, some professional tournaments, and that's when I was like, you have to put everything aside and just be a dog out there. You have to find a way. Tennis is so mentally challenging every single day. Like, how are you going to affect your opponent? What are they doing to affect you? What ball am I going to do that's going to affect them? Like, what am I going to do on my changeover? Am I going to crack a racket, or am I going to be as calm as possible, or am I going to be overthinking a lot of things? There's so much going through your head because you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you're in, you go through a competitive, dual match season and you have a coach with you and they're helping you kind of channel these emotions and give you tactics and how they're going to help you a little bit, right? But then you go to your summer and then it's just you. It's just now you. And that's where can get really, really challenging for a lot of players because most people have been playing on their own for so long, then they get to college and then it's the coach is now helping you with a lot of things. And then the summer comes along and it's like, how am I going to structure a practice? What am I going to do at practice? How am I going to play this tournament? Because I don't have anyone in my corner anymore. But for me, I never had a corner. So it was just when I got to summer, it was like, I'm just going
Same
to go
boat.
play. I'm going to
Yeah.
go play 20 matches this summer, 20, 30 matches this summer. I've never had a coach in my life
Hmm.
before coming to college. I don't really need a coach.
Yeah.
So I just
Wow.
went out and played. I traveled in the summer, played some tournaments, and just kind of did it on my own
Yeah.
and put the rankings aside. But
Yeah.
it took me really long to kind of get over that mental hurdle of I really belong with whoever I'm playing now. It just took a lot of time because I just didn't have that. I never had the coaching. I didn't have the upbringing that most people have. It just you just kept working, and then by the end of
100%.
the college career, it's like you
Yeah.
kind of just got to get over the mental hurdle, and it's really challenging to do.
So challenging to do. And I wish I could have figured that out. That's something I wish I could go back and figure out so much sooner in my career. That summer I went out to the Northwoods. I it was the summer where even after playing 2 years of Division 1 baseball or being in two D1 programs, that was the first summer of my life where I was like, damn, dude, I really can compete with anyone. If my game's on that day or I'm out there with the right mentality, I'm not thinking about rankings. I'm not thinking who's on that mound. I'm not thinking who we're facing that day. It's just, I'm just going to go give my best. But I know up top without having to be arrogant or without having to expose it or to show it. I know inside if I'm at whatever my best or I'm competing tough, I can hang with the best of them. And I wish I would have had that mindset earlier in my career because the only way that I was able to kind of get through it early on and shout out to my parents for this one too, for sure, because they instilled this from a young age. But I just wish the mindset was there a little sooner. But it was just, okay, you got to keep working. You got to work as hard as you can. And I don't know if you have any stories that necessarily of just having to work your ass off because you had that chip on your shoulder. But I've said it before already on this pod. I had those crazy nights where because I didn't have that mindset early on, it was I'm gonna hit till 1 in the morning and I'm gonna just sit here and see how many push-ups I can do for hours on end. And I'm gonna go to the weight room and just kill myself and absolutely go nuts. Not literally, I shouldn't have said it like that.
No, yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
get
you
exactly
know
where
what
you're
I
coming from.
mean? Yeah, dude.
100%.
I was making sacrifices just to give myself evidence that like, I belonged in college sports. I had to put in the work to show myself. And I remember my JUCO year too, even to this little point of we went off, dude. 19 years old, middle of the country. I'm a Division 1 bounce back, but I'm surrounded by a bunch of older dudes, bandits out there, man. And it was good
Yeah.
baseball. It really was. And
So many in any sport, there's so many good players whatever level it is,
yep,
everyone is
absolutely.
damn good.
Absolutely. I could not agree with that more. I think my journey, I've definitely learned that through playing at legitimately every single level. So that's pretty funny. But that year, I ended up just tearing it up as a little 19-year-old and having a great year. But I wasn't happy. I didn't have that mindset shift yet of, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this. No, I literally was just playing well because I knew how much work I was putting in. And every time I stepped out on the field, my mind was just nobody on this entire field has put in the work that I've put in. And so I proved it to myself. And so, yes, it helped. But also looking back, almost unhealthy in a sense at times of, I mean, I was calling home depressed still about the game in my second year of college baseball. And even to that point, you don't want to call home. So I really wasn't making those calls that often. But, everybody on the outside's like, Tyler, you're doing great. You're committed back to a great D1. We're so excited for you. You're having a great season. And I'm just going home like, oh, I'm just going to go hit again, or I'm going to go take more ground balls, or we'd get home from a long weekend and I was just going to go to the weight room because it was like, well, I got to keep doing this. This is working. I got to keep going. And I think that is where I almost struggled at times when I got to Texas of I decided to just keep working my ass off an unhealthy amount and the mindset still wasn't necessarily there. I didn't know how to deal with failure yet. That I didn't know how to have that confidence and be able to handle it the right way. And I think I worked myself into the ground there, into injury multiple times while I was out there, and then just didn't have the mentality to really bounce back from it. And then that's where the whole story of having to go and have fun and kind of find myself outside of the game came into play, which I said, wish I knew earlier, but I really believe everything happens for a reason. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a good little story that I've been waiting to tell as well. Just
Hmm.
unique perspective on the mindset and how everybody kind of sees it different, in my opinion. But okay, transferring in or transferring over to the coaching side of it, bro. I'm actually really excited to talk to you about this because I have a lot of friends coaching Division I baseball right now. It's cool to hear their perspective. You said it, being a GA, being a younger guy on the staff, like it's tough to find that line, dude. Like, yeah, you're personable. You get along with people. I'm in the same boat. It's one of my skill sets for sure, but I even run into it at times at work of like, I got to separate this line, dude. Like, yes, I would love to sit here and have a conversation with you and, hear about your life and what's going on. And if we need to have that talk, we can, but I'm working right now, or we got to figure out a better way to do this. Or you said, I don't always want to see or know what's going on necessarily, right? This is what I'm trying to do professionally. So I get what you're saying there, why I think this side of the story is so unique, but you didn't get 5 years away from your sport just before seeing kind of the other side. You went pretty much from being an athlete straight into being a coach, kind of similar to myself in a different field, but you graduate from UC Davis and then not after long, you're Alabama coaching athletes who are basically the same age as you or, a few years earlier. So how did the Alabama opportunity kind of happen? Where did that come from? And then when did you know that college coaching was something that you really wanted to pursue? Or has that always been something that you've known? It sounds good with the lessons and all this stuff.
Yeah, I another really unique story, but we were at spring break. We were
Yeah.
playing Nevada, and I woke up early before the match, and I was like, I'm gonna send an email to 50 different coaches right now. I woke up super early, and I knew I had to do. I had this email kind of ready to go. I just needed to just send it out, and I just started going on kind of like rankings 1 to 50 or 10 to 75. I did or something. I just sent an email to all these coaches and just like, are you looking for a GA? Do you need a second assistant? And then when I got to Alabama's coaching staff, I saw they had a GA, and I saw it was his second season. So I was like, this could work out. Not most GAs, because there's really not too many in college tennis right now. Very, very few. And some are 1 year, some are two, but no more than two, right? So I saw, shout out Sebastian, but Sebastian was on his second year. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna send an email to the head coach George and just see what happens. I get an email back probably 2 days later, we're traveling to LSU today. I'll call you later tonight. I'm like, holy shit. I got an email back. I already had gotten some emails back from some coaches, but they were all like, I sent them very early. It was
Okay.
early April, and the season still goes until May. So coaches weren't, there wasn't much movement yet or anything. There wasn't really any movement unless it was a GA. So I got some, emails back like, you can reach back out again in a month or two and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, cool. And then George responded back being like, we're traveling to LSU. I'll call you later tonight. And come to
So
find out, George is from Northern California. His family was basically in the Bay for their entire life. And then my head coach at Davis, when he was at UCSD before going to Davis, George was coaching at Santa Clara, and they had crossed paths coaching against each other at some point. And that kind of rekindled my boss George, and then Eric, my head coach at Davis, kind of rekindled their friendship because they had known each other. And then George went from Santa Clara to Illinois to USC to Alabama, so he kind of lost touch with Eric at Davis for a long time. And so there was already connection. He's a California guy, and I was like, just knowing having some instant connection is like, we're kind of already, like, conversation is flowing, like, you know, and George is super easy to talk to, just a great guy. And we end up, he probably calls me at 11 p.m. and they're playing LSU the next day. He was probably on the phone with me till 1 a.m. And
Really?
yeah, we talked for an hour and a half, 2 hours, that first interview phone call, just getting to know each other. And I'm just like, damn, he's taking the time. Like, I'm,
That's
he called
so
me like, he called me at like 8:30, 9 p.m. my time, 2 hours ahead, and we talked on the phone for an hour and a half. And I was just obviously super grateful that we had the conversation, right? And then I was stoked on it. I'm like, told my boss, I mean, my head coach at Davis, I had a good conversation with George, and, they still got some time left in their season, but we'll keep in contact, all this stuff. And basically, time kind of goes on, a lot of movement on the roster, guys graduating, and then a couple guys leaving. And there's just a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I didn't know about. And I'm still interviewing for some other positions. But for me, it's like, I was all in taking this job at Alabama. If I was ever, George called me, whatever time, come out to
yeah,
Alabama, I'm like, I'm driving
I'm there.
from Irvine to Tuscaloosa, no questions asked.
So awesome.
And yeah, time kind of goes on. We have a couple more phone calls, and then it kind of dried out for a little bit with transferring and all these guys leaving, graduating, transferring, all this kind of stuff. And at one point, I was like, I didn't get the job. I was just like,
Yeah.
darn.
On to the next.
It's already kind of mid-June, and then he calls me. I'm playing ping pong in the garage with Luke and our other best friends, and I get this phone call from George, and I'm like, oh, I got to take this. I walk to the park behind our house, and we have a conversation and just kind of catch up. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, playing ping pong with my buddies. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? It's another midnight phone call from him, or 11 p.m. And yeah, it's just funny. We have another conversation. He's like, yeah, we got some things to do, but we're going to hire somebody on June 30th. And kind of telling me I'm in the final running, and I'm just pumped on it, right? I have another phone call with the associate head coach and check in with him, and he checks in with me a couple days later. And then June 30th rolls around, in my heart, I literally couldn't sleep that night. I know June 30th I'm going to find out if I got this job or not, right? And he calls me end of the workday, like 4 or 5 p.m. their time and 2 p.m. So I'm waiting this out all day. I can't do anything. And then he calls me, and then we have a conversation, and then he tells me, I want to offer you the job. And I'm like, all right, when do you need me there?
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm there. Jake and I drive out July 27th, 28th, get here, scramble to find this apartment that I'm in, absolutely call every single apartment complex in the town.
Way over?
No, that week I got the job.
Okay,
So
yeah.
first
But
week of
still
July,
scrambling. Yeah.
I'm scrambling. I have a couple weeks to figure this all out, and I end up finding this place. Shout out my mom. My mom actually found this place. I called so many places, and this place was new, and it wasn't even popping up on my search engine.
Wow.
And yeah, I got here, and that's kind of
History, man.
the interview
Yeah.
process. But
Oh my gosh, dude, what a story. Good for you. Because I mean, I think I'm trying to do the same thing right now. Just I was telling you, either try to get into a complex thing with an MLB org, some minor league hitting guys, or figure out how I can just get my name on, like, a Division 1 roster where I can start my career and start building that after. So I'm
that's
I'm
all.
trying to take steps
That's
right
all
now.
it takes right there.
Yeah.
If someone was to ask me, how can I be a GA or something, right? I would tell them literally, just send emails, and just, if they don't respond, no problem. Just keep sending emails. It doesn't matter, P4, mid major, Division 3. It's just starting somewhere. You start somewhere,
100%.
and you kind of, hopefully do a good job. Maybe do a good job, maybe not. See if this profession is for you, and just keep building connections. Just keep the toughest thing for me last year, knowing one, I'm the youngest coach in the SEC right now by a couple years. The toughest part for me was going up to this coach in the fall season, being like, "Hey, I'm Sam. Like, nice to meet you. Like, I'm the new GA."
Yeah.
That was the toughest part for me. Like, it wasn't even the coaching. It was just, I'm surrounded by these big coaching names, right? That I looked up, or maybe they were a professional back in the day that was really good, and I watched them on TV, and then here they are coaching their player, and I'm coaching my player.
Yeah.
And I just had to get over this. Just go introduce yourself. I'm Sam, and then that's kind of it. You'll coach, they'll coach, and who knows? Maybe you'll end up like getting a beer at
Seriously, that's what I was gonna say. Just building that community, that connection. That's pretty cool, dude. I think
sorry,
I
but it
no.
just keeps sending emails, trying to make connections, and
Yep.
things could fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's definitely the plan. I'm just trying to navigate next steps right now, and just so passionate about what I'm doing, man. I just love the game of baseball. I love helping guys get better. So we'll see where it takes me, but I'm excited. I'll definitely keep you updated with that one. But I do have a question regarding tennis and the opinion of players now that you're on the other side of coaching. How much should an athlete allow a coach's opinion or lineup decisions or playing time even to control their confidence?
If I could kind of backtrack to my playing, all I wanted to do was to play, right? And unfortunately, now I look back on it, I was literally one of the worst players in practice. And I wish I could go back and change that.
Yep.
But if you're putting every single ounce of energy that you have to your sketch, to eating properly, to coming to training early, doing your treatment, rehab, all these extra things, it's going to add up, right? We had a couple guys on our team last year. We had a lot of guys fighting for some positions to start, right? And there was a lot of fluctuation toward the middle end of the season. And there were guys that were in there were working their ass off in practice, right? They wanted to get in so bad, and it was just a matter of time before they eventually got their opportunity, right?
Yep.
And on the other hand, maybe you have some guys who are practicing not well and not putting their all-in mentality to the practice and the treatment and everything, and those things just slowly start to add up, right? But if you got some guys that are every single ounce of energy that they have is put into the team and put into like, I'm going to give everything I have for this team, and when my opportunity comes, I'm going to make the most of it. Whether I win or lose, the pressure will be there. We're playing in the SEC. It doesn't matter SEC, UC Davis, Portland State. Like, once you get your opportunity, there you are to show. And if shit doesn't go your way, how are you going to bounce back? Are you going to have a really bad practice week and sulk, or
Yeah.
you just got to get back to the lab? And
Yeah.
for me, when I was at Davis, fortunately, I never was on the bench. I wasn't on the bench unless I was hurt for a couple matches. But my sophomore year, I was never in the doubles lineup. And a goal of mine was to get in the doubles lineup. And I did at the end of the season. And that was all I cared about. I'm asking coach, what can I do to get in the doubles lineup? I'm not pestering him, but like, what can I do to get in the doubles lineup? I want to play doubles for this team and contribute badly. There's really
But
nothing.
what was his answer right there? Because I think that was more so of what I was asking too. Coach tells you something, and most of the time it's not what you want to hear when you're in that spot. At times we've all been there, and that's fuck. How do I let that not entirely get to my head? Of like, yes, I know I need to do this better, but now I'm gonna overthink it because coach told me I need to do this to get in there. You know?
And that's where my Davis coach, I absolutely love this guy. He would always keep it 100% with me. There was no B, there was no BS. If I wasn't doing something properly, he will call me out, and I have no problem with that. And that's probably just how I grew up from that basketball environment, and then kind of just like you know that it was mainly because of the basketball that taught me that. But I remember, I'll never forget what he told me. We were playing doubles, and I ultimately I just wasn't an aggressive. I didn't have an aggressive mindset. So I'm the player at the net, and
Yep.
my partner's serving, and I'm moving backwards. I'm scared of the ball. I In the back of my mind, I'm scared. And naturally, I didn't even know I was moving backwards. And then it took me like, just some training to get more comfortable moving forward at the net in doubles. And that was ultimately the main reason. I can volley well. I can serve okay. I return very, very well, but I'm not aggressive. And if you're not aggressive in doubles, sorry, you're not going to be in the lineup. And I wasn't in the lineup for that sole reason. And it took me a year, that whole sophomore year of training, and the junior year too. I was in the doubles lineup my junior year for most of the season, and then kind of injured a little bit in there, but that was the main thing. But if he didn't tell me that and was just like, your chance will happen eventually. I want to know what I can do better, right? So that's something I'll always take from him. Him just keeping it. If one of my guys asks me, I'm not the head coach, obviously, right? But if there's something that is noticeable and they ask me, what can I do to get in the lineup? I'm more than happy to keep it 100% with them, because my
Yeah.
coach at Davis always kept it 100% with me. And if he didn't, I probably would have never gotten the doubles lineup my entire career,
Yep.
right?
I just think there's a lot of different angles to the question. I think that was a great response for sure. I think a lot of guys tend to, and I was the same way growing up, of definitely had hard coaches that were always keeping it 100%, which I was very appreciative of. But then for me at times, at least, and I know other people I've seen it happen too, where you just fall into the, okay, well, now I got to do this and I got to be perfect. Even the point of the question is, I wish, yes, I understand coaches are there for a reason. Now that that's what I'm trying to do as well. I get the point of them. I understand what they are trying to do. They're trying to help in the best way, and they know how. They're trying to win, but I overanalyze sometimes too much of what they were saying versus just being myself and doing what I knew was best and knowing my game better than anyone else. Of just like, I'm just gonna trust myself, man. I'm gonna go do what I can do, and if I do it right, I'll be in there. Versus just kind of overthinking the little things or trying to nitpick at what coach was talking about, knowing that wasn't my game, but I see what he was saying, looking back on it, those types of things.
It's really easy, as the player in our shoes that we once were, to be like, coach is telling me this, and I kind of frazzle up.
Yeah.
Now this is all I'm thinking about. Like I'm thinking about now that I asked him how I can get in the lineup, all the and then maybe he tells me what I can do better or what I need to do, and then that's all I'm solely focused on. And I'm kind of letting everything else, not my level drop with other things, but I always kept it in the back of my mind. If I want to get in the doubles lineup, this is what I have to do, right? And if I'm not doing it, then I don't deserve to play. He kept it real with me, and he told me the bottom line is you need to get more comfortable being more aggressive at the net. And I spent time in the summer and in the fall and all these things kind of fine tuning that to get more comfortable with it.
Yeah, which is sweet. And I think you went about that the complete right way too. And I think people can learn from your mindset there and how to take advice and actually translate it a little bit. I think where I went wrong at times with overanalyzing the information was I would just overthink it and almost turn practice into like an audition the next day after being like, all right, like, I get it. This is what I have to do. Now, when I go get my opportunity in practice, it better be exactly what coach was looking for, what we talked about. And that's where I think I would screw myself up at times versus just going out to practice to actually get better a little bit. It was, okay, I'm going out today to make sure I do this, and this is going to get me in the lineup. I would start thinking about it almost like that. I think
Yeah.
that's where I went wrong for
And
sure.
that when he told me this, when I asked what I can do to get in, and that was the time period where I really felt like I am maximizing my practice right now. I
Yeah.
am really, if I hadn't asked him that, like, I'm pretty critical on myself now. I keep saying I half-ass practice and all this stuff. Maybe I half-ass, but maybe I'm just, now that I'm coaching, I'm thinking like I know I didn't hold myself to the standard I did when I was competing in a match, right? And when I asked him this, I know during that time frame, I was practicing very, very hard and I was getting frustrated. I'm not much of a frustrated person really.
Yeah.
And
Angry per court.
I
Yeah.
remember playing in college tennis. It's called each team kind of has maybe a different word, but like challenge match. So I'm line 6 on my team,
Yeah.
and I'm the last starter. And line 7, we play the match against each other, and whoever wins ends up playing that match, right? So my sophomore year, I played a challenge match in doubles with my partner against the line 3 doubles team, and I think we lost 7-6. And I remember grabbing my water bottle and just destroying it,
Yeah.
throwing it all over, not throwing it all over the court, just on a changeover, just threw it. And I remember like breaking my water bottle. And I'm never one to crack a racket or anything.
Yeah.
My frustration was showing. And ultimately, thinking back, it was honestly probably, I didn't handle it professionally, right? But it showed probably my coach that, like, hey,
You
I
can,
really, really care and I really want to get in the lineup. And I'm close. I would never encourage my guys to throw shit, right? Or break a
yeah.
racket or anything like that.
Yeah.
If I could go back, I'd kind of maybe my action would be different, but also my coach never saw me throw a racket or anything like that. And it was out of character for me to do that. But I've had this conversation with him, like, it showed him that I really care. And it wasn't my time. Like, we ultimately didn't win the match, right? We didn't start that next day or that week, but it showed him I'm making strides and I really, really care. And my time will eventually come. It will eventually come. And I remember being so, so pissed that we lost, and like, but that kind of taught me a lot. I never got put in that challenge match environment, and once I did, it was my emotions definitely showed. I mean, I shattered my water bottle. So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you said not into your character, so I think having that, I don't see a coach getting mad at somebody, doing something like that when he knows who you are. So definitely a cool story there. You've already experienced a lot in a short amount of time, which is so cool. You've been the recruit, the transfer, the captain, the kind of the athlete whose career ended, and now coach helping someone else through kind of that same process. I just want to finish by bringing it all together. Few questions for you. First one being, what do you think college athletes learn too late?
that's a really good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is just that thing. Ultimately, whatever it happens for a reason. That's kind of my motto. Everything happens for a reason. Whatever you're gonna put out is
Yep.
what you're gonna get out, right? And
Mm.
things take time. They happen for a reason. UC Davis didn't happen the way I wanted it to the first time around. It happened the second time, and then I had an amazing experience and opportunity, right? But with being an athlete, D1, D2, D3, JUCO, we said before, there's so many good players, and you get challenged by your teammates, right? Whatever position anyone plays, there's someone that is gutting for the spot, and it's just a matter. Things will happen for a reason. Maybe you don't have a good series in baseball. You don't get a hit in 3 games. You make a couple errors. Like, you know, it's kind of just a part of the process. It was a part of my process. I struggled my freshman year. I didn't receive the coaching and the, playing that I wanted in the practice. And then I got to Davis, and then things like, they just kind of keep stacking the days and get a little bit better at each thing. And it all
Yep.
happens for a reason.
Love it. I think that was a great answer right there. Definitely one of the best to that question. Next
That's
one.
a really good question. Really good
Thank
question.
you. Once again, another reason why I started this, right? Of there's so many parts of the mental game and to athletics, especially when you get to those higher levels that people don't see. It's that stuff behind the scenes. You're going through the mental struggle, you're going through the battle, but I'm not going to call home and talk about it. It's just how were some of these guys that were able to play at the pinnacle of their game or, Division One, the highest level, wherever it may be, how were they able to get through it? At 18 years old, you go back, Sam Vries, you're going through your journey again. Everything that you know now, what would you do differently? What would you kind of tell that kid now in this moment?
If I could go back in time, I'd tell my mom to start letting me play tennis at 13 and not 15. Because
That's real. That's real.
if I started playing a team, my life is completely different. I'm a little bit better tennis player, but
Yes. Okay.
I said before, things will happen for a reason, right? But
Yep.
I mean, when I was 18 at Portland State, I was probably in the worst mental state possible. I was not in a good place there. Part of me wanted to not even come back in January and just hop in the portal and just see what happens. And I remember Davis coach telling me like, I told him, I'm like, I don't even really want to play this season. We have 4 guys, and he was just like, the best thing you can do for yourself is just continue to compete. I was fortunate enough that my roster spot at Portland State was never going to go away. I would never ride the bench unless something crazy happened, right? And I remember him telling me on the phone he's just like, know that you're going to get to compete in every single college match. I was playing for myself. I knew, unfortunately, that we were down 2-0 in every college match we played because we didn't have enough guys, right? But I was fortunate enough, to do what a lot of people are not able to do and play Division One tennis and just compete and have fun, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I mean, everybody's answers definitely their own on that one. Like I said, there's a couple things that I wish I could go back, and I agree. I think everything happens for a reason, but once again, just a few things that I wish I knew a little bit sooner. So internal reps, I rebranded that a few months ago. I want to start asking this one a little bit of what does that kind of mean to you if you could go back, being a high level athlete or through your journey, what are internal reps to you?
money. Well, I'm honored I'm the
One
first.
one, 1-1. Yes, sir.
Well, for me, also for any single athlete, is the brand is perfect, right? We're all battling these internal things every single day when we step on the field, the pitch, the court, whatever it is, right? But what are you going to do when nobody's watching? When my coach is not watching me at Davis, what am I doing? I'm Realistically, I was probably giving tennis lessons and I wasn't going to class, which doesn't make many people happy, but I was doing what I absolutely loved, right? So my coach and I remember my boss asking me last year, he's like, what's something you learned this fall? And we were wrapping up our fall season. I told him, I was like, what I realized is once the practice day is over, anything in the world could happen. Our couple hours that we have with our guys here, when they scooter home or drive home, like, we are a phone call away, but we are not there, right? What are they doing when we're not there? How are you preparing for practice the next day? Are you doing your homework? Are you eating right? Are you sleeping well? Those internal things that you're kind of battling on your own. When am I going to go to sleep? Or am I going to get my homework done? Me as the coach, I'm not at my player's house right now. I'm just not there. Like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
and I basically told him, I was like, when the day is over, it is all on them. We've done everything that we can during the day today, capitalize on our practice. We made the most of our day with them at the tennis facility, and now the day is theirs, right? Are they going to come back tomorrow? Are they going to come back sluggish, lazy, tired? They're all battling the same things that we all did when we were players, right? We showed up to practice tired. Maybe we showed up to practice hungover,
Yeah.
for all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not there with them in the evening time. And what are they doing to, put their best foot forward and be all in every single day?
Absolutely. What a sick answer to start that question. That was awesome, bro. I could
Hopefully
not
they
agree with that more, though. I mean, I'm so recently out of the game, but I look back and I realize how much those little wins added up. What I was doing outside of my sport, away from practice, that was making me successful. And what, to your point earlier, you've continued to say there was more I could have done in practice. I know you. Your coaches know you. Your teammates knew you. If we went out and watched a practice or a film from practice, whenever it was, I guarantee no one's sitting there going, "Damn, it looks like Sam's half-assing it today," you know. But it really,
I'd have
yeah,
to
we will.
I'd have to ask my Davis coaches at the time because I definitely heard it from them at practice. But one again, I was grateful that I was hearing it too. Like, whether they were giving me shit or whatever it was. If if I deserve to hear it, I'm more than happy to hear it and take it.
Absolutely, and I totally think that's how it should be. I'm appreciative of this first take of just internal reps being what are you doing outside that is going to lead to success, that is going to give you the best opportunity to be the best version of yourself. Simply, that's as simple as I can put it. What are you doing behind the scenes to reiterate your point that is going to make you once again just the best version of yourself, allow you to perform to your best abilities, and look back and say, man, I did it. I gave everything. I've had a lot of people ask me recently of like, oh, do you feel good or do you miss it? This and that. I actually haven't responded to a text today of one of my old buddies asking me if I miss it. And my answer so far has been no, not, I don't. I don't miss play. I love it. I love to compete. You said I always will. That's who I am. But dude, I fucking gave everything I had. I really did. I can look back and say, you know what? I worked hard and I'm happy with that. And that's why I think my career went more successful than I honestly thought it would have when I was an 18-year-old. So,
For sure. I regret not having one more year at Davis. I really, I really wanted to play another year at Davis, but at the same time, I said before that last match at home, senior day against Cal Poly, clinching on senior day and having my friends and family and them rushing the court and hugging my mom and brother after the match, everything just came full circle. So I was like, I was happy,
so
all right,
cool.
it was meant to be. I'm more than fine. This is it, right?
Yep.
That's and
100%.
the only reason I say I wanted one more year just because 3 years at Davis just wasn't enough for me. I had a great community, friendship, and roommates and everything. And I think we could all say that if we had a good experience with our teammates and everything, you would kill to just kick it with them at the apartment.
One more time. Yeah. I think
Just
as a coach now
bullshit
too, you
and
want to
watch
see that.
football.
Yep.
Just kick
Yep.
it on a Sunday. That's the epitome of it all when you have that connection with your teammates and just sit on the couch and just have a good time and just shoot the shit. Now
Is
we're on our own and working. I'm living on my own, and you just want someone to talk to. But I talk to my players and the rest of my staff all day, so that's my kind of connection, right? But
yep. It's not the same at the end of the day.
it's not the same coming home to your teammates and your other roommates and just being like, bro, let's put a football game on and let's just
Yeah.
kick.
Let's talk. Yeah. Yeah. Right. I don't think anyone will ever actually understand what that was either. And I had somebody or Hearn. He said, Tyler, the pressures of life will never compare to the pressures that you're dealing with right now in sports, living with your buddies, playing the game you love every day, being out here. You're worrying about hitting a baseball, dude. He said, just wait till you get there and you'll understand. I understand. I know exactly what he was saying. And it's like, yeah, I love what I'm doing 100%, but it's not the same, dude. At the end of the day, it's cool with us both, going into this with you already being in coaching to be able to say that and say, well, yeah, dude, I want all my guys at Alabama saying the same thing next year. I miss it. I wish I had one more year. To have your athletes say that, I think is such a testament to the program and the culture that you build. And I don't know, I think that's pretty cool to have athletes, former athletes saying that about the program. So cool to hear for sure.
Yes, sir.